there will be people, and we've already had one case with Extinction Rebellion where a judge actually found some Extinction Rebellion vandals guilty, but then proceeded to let them off on the grounds that they had a good cause. Similarly, there will be others now who will see both the Bristol case and the Extinction Rebellion case and go, well, if I have a good cause, then presumably I can just break the law and get away with it.
Well, they shouldn't bank on that because the jury may not accept their claim. This decision set no precedent, and it was a particular one, and there's a lot of interesting discussion among lawyers about what the judge said to the jury in particular aspects of it. But I remind myself in the middle of all this, again, that when the Soviet Union was falling, I rejoiced at the tearing down of statues of Lenin and Felix Dzerzhinsky and all kinds of other thugs and horrible people. And I can quite see that the tearing down of statues is a thing which will sometimes happen, reflecting various changes of opinion. I find it also hard. I don't see why I should be corralled into the position of saying how much I regret that the statue of a rather nasty slave owner was pulled down. I think conservatives should be wary of rushing to the defense of these graven images anyway. And what do I care? Again, if I live in Oxford, if a statue of Cecil Rhodes, who was a sort of pirate, is taken down, it isn't a big deal to me. I would rather these things were taken down by agreement. But it's a thing into which conservatives shouldn't be trapped, because really, why should we? I don't approve of slavery. I don't particularly approve of the way Cecil Rhodes behaves in Africa. Why should those who have so-called right-wing views be allowed to be portrayed as defenders of slavery? It's again, the whole subject is one in which conservatives in this country is being corralled into positions they really probably shouldn't be holding. But I don't think that the trial sets a precedent. If people just go and tear down a statue, they shouldn't expect to be acquitted just because another jury is acquitted.
I don't think so.
That jury, and it won't necessarily be repeated.
And you can feel, sympathy for them, but it doesn't mean that the law should be altered, in my view. And I think the problem as well is...
No, can I say something about that, though? I mean, the people who really need to be questioned most of all on that is what is laughingly called the police force. And it's quite clear that if a demonstration is preparing to do something of this kind in the centre of a major city, then the police have simply a duty to order to prevent it. But what did they do? Where were they?
Well, they took the view, they said at the time, that we didn't do anything because we didn't want to make it worse, which is hardly the point of view of the police, is it?
Well, no, it didn't seem to me to be a particularly, how shall I put it, creditable attitude to take. No. But I think that to then, that seems to me to be the far more worrying failure of the justice system. That there was no order in the streets of Bristol that day because the police weren't prepared.
And then what it led to later, and I think it was later in the week, was a sort of mass riot, a mini riot anyway, outside a police station where several police vans were set on fire. And you could link the two and say, well, there was a direct connection between the police doing nothing when the Colston statue was hurled into the river, and them thinking, well, we could just go and attack the police station now because they probably won't respond.
Well, who knows? My general view is that the police in this country, I used to join in with the mantra that there were lots of nice people in the police, which undoubtedly there are. I mean, there are plenty of nice men and women in the police who you'd like to meet, but and that a lot of them still did a good job. But I've given up on the latter. However nice you are in the police, the nature of the organisation prevents you from doing a good job now. My belief is that we should train a new, proper, local responsive police forces dedicated to enforcing the law.
Yes.
And as soon as that is done, we should disband the existing police force as a useless, failed, nationalised industry, which is no longer fit for any sort of purpose. They just aren't police anymore, and it's time we recognise that they're unreformable.
Yes. Which brings us, with a very short amount of time left, I'm afraid, just about a minute or so, to move on to the subject of marijuana, which is one of your pet peeves. The fact that, as you describe it, and I can totally agree and attest to, you can't walk around London anymore without smelling it.
Not just London either, no, yeah. But but what is the great thing is that I think after what feels like about 300 years of saying to people, look, there is no war on drugs, the law hasn't been enforced, so don't say that the current situation is a result of a failed war on drugs, because there hasn't been one. And the other point, this is the worst possible moment to be legalizing a drug against which the evidence is piling up that it's closely linked, its use is closely linked with severe mental illness. And the great joy I'm having to see the Times newspaper, which has previously been among the liberal voices on this, increasingly giving coverage to this stuff, which otherwise I've been shouting into empty space for year after year after year without any help or response at all. I do think it's possible that both public opinion and media opinion are beginning to turn, because so many people are experiencing in their own families the catastrophic consequences of marijuana use, particularly by the young. And it is being used by very young people these days, I'm sorry to say.
Well, it is very much sort of universally available. That seems to be the trouble.